So clearly you have like this big passion to help men. So basically, where did this passion come from?
Yeah, so I first got the idea when I was with an old girlfriend and I was I was with an old girlfriend and she was basically showing me some messages she got from a guy who she dated for like, 2 weeks. And she was showing me through her phone and it was sort of message after message after message. And now, before that point, I thought like no one would do that. Like it doesn't make any sense. Why would someone do that?
Oh
I
yeah,
kind
oh
of thought the
right,
whole world was like, I thought the whole world was like me. I thought, that doesn't make sense. Why would anyone do it?
right, right.
And this was the first time I'd kind of seen that. And
Oh,
as she's showing me all these unanswered messages going back months, the guy tries calling her right then. And it kind of made me think, like, has no one spoken to this guy? Has no one ever said to him, like, hey man, this is a bad idea, and it's got me thinking, like, what would it take to just explain that, And to the average man, it wouldn't take a whole lot of explaining to sort of just put that perspective out there for them. So that was where it kind of
uh,
began, and it kind of increased from there.
um, it's surprising that you said that because you're a man also. So, to me, it's surprising that you yourself have never been through that phase of sending multiple messages because I know I've done that before, but you just said you clearly can't understand why a guy would do that. So I'm surprised because, in my opinion, when you told me that story, I could relate to that guy. Like, I could explain why. Maybe you already know the reason. So, um, in my opinion, the reason why guys do it, the reason why I do it is because we're desperate. We have like nothing else to rely on. We have no other girls to talk to, so we cling on to the hope of maybe this specific girl who we know, right? We know they're not interested in us, but we are like so desperate we lose logic, right? And we hope maybe she changes her mind if we keep on messaging, and hopefully she caves in due to persuasion. So
Yeah, I think you're right about the lose logic and perspective
yeah, because
because
if you on a deserted island and you have this really hideous chick, eventually over time she's gonna look like Celine Dion or like, I mean, she's old now, but she's gonna look like a really really hot girl. So I think the less you have of something for a long time, the more like attractive something seems to you.
yeah, guys do get very scarce in their mentality, and a lot of guys, like the vast majority, don't have a whole lot of options or the confidence to sort of go and, get options. A lot
Yes,
of guys,
yes,
they kind of, they might get one Tinder date in 3 months, and that's kind of it for them. So they can fixate on that because they don't really have much going on. They get very a scarcity mindset, and they put a lot of
yes,
stock in that one sort of option there. And yeah, it can lead to guys to lose logic and really fixate on that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
the reason I guess it never sort of happened for me is I guess when I was a lot younger, I guess I sort of picked up on, I don't know, I don't really want to embarrass myself too much. I sort of started to pick up on the subtext really early that, if her last message is not really a question or it's not really prompting any more conversation,
Yes.
there's only so much prodding I can do, and you kind of
Yes.
just start looking a bit desperate. You start looking awkward, and like, why would she want someone who's desperate? Why would she want someone who's awkward? You're going to have a lot more value. You're going to have a lot more, excitement about yourself if
You're
there's some
right.
air of mystery. And even if that mystery isn't actually real, even if, maybe you don't have anything to do, but that person on the other end doesn't know that, like you could have tried to
Yeah.
message, they didn't respond, then they sort of think, oh, what happened? Where did he go? Well, that's a mystery. You might just be playing video games. You might just be watching TV, but in their mind, it could be anything.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
I mean, leaving that mystery is a lot more powerful than, letting them know that you literally had nothing to do. You had nothing to do with your time except keep hammering and hammering at that person for no result.
Let me tell you something. I guarantee you, I 100% guarantee you, if that specific guy had 100 girls DMing him, he would definitely not be sending message after message after message. The reason why guys do this is because they simply don't have anything. You know, it's like you need food, and maybe there's a chance this bakery gives you food, so you cling on to that hope. But yeah, I think if all men had the same attention that women get, like I remember we were me and my friends were at a restaurant and we showed each other our phones, right? So they were like hot girls and like 4 to 10 girls, even the girls that we would think are totally hideous, their inbox was full. Like, let me tell you something, woman. It doesn't matter if you're ugly, okay, average, or good looking. You are getting attention. Let me tell you, you are getting attention left, right, and center. So I was telling my friends, like, women lives at different lives from men, and they take for granted because they live their whole life with all this attention. They don't know what it's like to not have attention. So they can't really relate to men because they don't know about that lifestyle, how really empty and lonely we are. I can't just go outside and hook up with a girl right now. I can't. I can't just go outside and find a girl and have her come to my house immediately. But guess what? Your typical average girl, she can do that. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, so what you're saying isn't true. Oh, sorry, what you're saying is correct in one sense, but in another sense, there's a little more to it. So
yeah, well, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So basically, when your typical man is dating, he may have very few options at all. When your typical woman is dating, she may have many options. But in her mind, she won't see a lot of those options as actually options. So
I see.
She might have 20 options, but she might only consider 2 of them to be possibly any good. Whereas the man may have maybe 1 option and he's not really sure about it. So or the woman may definitely get a lot of attention, but a lot of it may not be all that wanted. So women can sometimes end up in this situation where they have 10, 20 guys in their DM setting them up. But when they go through it, they go, I'm not interested in any of them. So it's a lot of attention that they don't often want to do anything with, which can put them in this sort of position of, well, it might be nice, but they don't actually want to take any action on it.
Let's talk about dating. So I believe because of the lack of options, as you said, for men, often during a date, they castrate themselves in order to be with that girl because they know if they lose this set option, it's going to take them however long to get another option. So I believe a lot of men take away their standards, even like completely throw away their standards, just to have the chance of at least having sex, right? They will do anything they need to do, even if the girl is like totally so bad, they will. But the girl, on the other hand, like to her, even if the guy doesn't work, she doesn't care. So I think for women, men are more like expendable. They don't really care because if they know this guy feels, she could just find another one. So for me, when I go on dates, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. Like I'm under extreme scrutiny. I have to be perfect in order to please this girl because any little thing that may trigger her, I don't know, because women are complicated. We don't know what triggers them. She might just disappear and I'm going to lose my chance. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think that speaks to some attraction and how men and women view it. So often a man will look for reasons to pursue a relationship. He'll be there with someone and he'll be sitting across the table and he might be thinking, I'm not sure, I'm a little bit on the fence, but he'll sort of think about it and go, oh, well, she has nice legs, so that's good enough for me. Or, she has nice breasts, that's good enough for me.
She's a girl.
She's a girl, and he'll put aside a lot of things. So he'll look for reasons to qualify her. Whereas from the woman's side, she'll be looking for reasons to often disqualify
Yes.
So the man, in theory, will start at 100 and she'll sort of look at him and go, oh, well, I don't like that part. And that takes it off. And, he's still looking good. It's not a big deal. And then maybe he says something, that she doesn't like, or there's some aspect of his personality that comes across and immediately, it just goes down again. So the woman is looking out for reasons to disqualify the man, whereas men are often looking for reasons to qualify the woman. So it's kind of two different
Yeah.
mindsets there that are kind
Very
of have to
different.
sort of balance out somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. I just think it's really unfair that the woman during the date, she can totally be herself. She can say what she wants. She could do whatever with no consequence, unless she's dating a Chad. With a Chad, she all of a sudden becomes the average guy. But for a guy, for me, I can't think of a day in my life I genuinely enjoy going on a date. Every time I go on a date, I'm like, all right, I have to watch out. It's really taxing on the brain. It's stressful. It's scary. I don't know if I'm going to be accepted. It's totally scary. I can't enjoy a date. So I think for women, they are able to be themselves and enjoy the date in comparison to men. And I think that's unfair.
Yeah, I think that might go to a bit of mindset going into the date.
Okay.
A lot of the guys I speak to, I kind of coach them to have something better they would rather be doing than being on that date. If a guy can get to that point, this is Jedi Master level stuff here, but if he can get to the point of being in his mind thinking, I would rather be doing this other thing than being on this date, and not in the sense of the date's no good, he's not interested, just in he's still got something cool to go do. He can go on that date and he can basically be less dependent on the outcome of that date. So, for example, say, you were a musician recording guitar, for example, and you wanted to lay down some tracks at home in your studio or whatever you had, some project you had in mind, and you had a date arranged that week. You could pretty comfortably go on that date knowing that if you weren't on that date, you were still going to be doing something very productive at home, something you had your mind set on doing, something that sort of meant a lot to you. So a lot of the times you can go on that date thinking in your mind, if this doesn't work out, I can just go back to what I'm going to do. So that can kind of take a little bit of the pressure off.
Oh, I see. I see. So, but I think the problem is like even though they have other things that they rather be doing, the consequence of that action is missing out on the chance of having sex. I think that is I think it's like sexual frustration is what drives the men to go through with the suffering. It's like going to work. You need the money. So even though you don't want to go to work and get up at a certain time, you go because you need the money. And I think that a lot of men out there go a lot of time without sex that they're willing to suffer in order to get it, is what I believe. So even though like they know, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'd rather be playing TV, playing games or whatever, I think, oh well, if I play games, I wouldn't have the opportunity to get sex.
Yeah, that's true, but it's sort of it's a mindset really it can take a lot to break through. Um, I suppose if guys have the ability to line up 2 or 3 dates in a week, like say first dates, for example, he can go
Yes.
into each of those with a lot less pressure in his mind.
Of course, of course.
But as you said, if he's only got one in a month, he's going to be very on edge about it. So the best
Right.
that I can really hope for is to pack in some kind of, a bit of a mindset, a bit of a shift. Um, because I think deep down, a lot of guys often don't have something that they really, really are passionate about away from women.
Okay.
They might play some games, they might do that, but finding something they're really passionate about that means a lot to them, completely separate to women, completely separate to sex, they can hold that thing there. And yes, there'll
Yeah.
be an urge to have sex. Yes, there'll be an urge for that, but they'll always have that overriding thing that is sort of a life mission, a big goal that they're working towards, something very meaningful to them
Right. Right.
that always sits there. And yeah, okay, they might not get sex on that date. Yeah, it might not go so well,
Mm-hmm.
but they'll always have that big thing to go back to. Yeah, but yeah, you've got to kind of weigh that against that real huge drive to have sex and not a lot of opportunities that guys sort of see that they don't have.
Right. All right. So let's move on to our next topic. Okay. So I'm curious about women in your country in comparison to women in this country. Right now, I'm in Japan, Tokyo. So, where are you from, by the way? In Australia, right?
I'm in Australia.
Okay. Okay. So, in your opinion, but in my opinion, I think women are all the same. But in your opinion, Australian women different from Asian women? You think? What's your view?
Yeah, so typically, if you're talking Western women, so Western English speaking countries, and to a lesser extent, even sort of Western European countries. You can get similarities across the board, especially in the English-speaking world, because there's a lot of cross-cultural stuff with movies, television,
Right, right, right.
that kind of thing. So, the average 30-year-old woman in the US, depending where she is not going to be massively different to the average 30-year-old woman in Australia or the UK, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Obviously factoring in a few things about lifestyle and friend group and stuff. Typically, the Asian women who have all grown up in Asia, they may be a little more conservative. Again, that depends on the
Yeah,
country you're in.
true.
But
Mm-hmm.
there's a few factors in there, and like people they do take on a lot of the culture where they are. So Asian women, for example, Indian women who were born and grew up in Australia, they typically will act like a regular, Western woman.
Okay, yeah, I definitely see how the Japanese women dress. They don't wear like the low cut at all. It's very rare for you to see a girl to dress provocatively. So like in the US or my country, some girls would wear short pants where you could see half of their ass, right? But in here, it's like you would almost never see that. So I think that's one big difference between a Western woman and Asian woman. So if you had to choose, or would you, if you had to recommend a certain kind of woman for men, which country would you say, or maybe you don't think it matters at all?
It's sort of up to the individual,
No. Right. Okay.
some men
Okay.
will want, a certain type of woman. And it might not necessarily be, it might just be a certain type of personality
I
that they're
see.
looking for.
Okay.
And how those sort of personalities manifest. I've read a lot online of certain people talking about how they're going to go, they're going to go to Eastern Europe and they're going to find a very conservative woman and bring her to the US, and it's going
Right.
to be the best thing ever,
Right.
supposedly. And then they do that, they bring her to the US, and then, 10 years later, she's, because they think, she's from this conservative culture that, things are going to be different. But, if things don't work out, people move cultures, people move countries. It's not quite how they think it's going to be, like if they wanted a woman from the 1950s, they probably
Mm.
have to go back to the 1950s. Like people are chasing,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
chasing this kind of idea that doesn't really exist anymore. And the
I
lifestyle
see.
they want with that woman can't exist anymore because of socioeconomic factors that come into play as well.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
guys will, they'll put out there, especially online, there's a lot of discourse around it that kind of makes me roll my eyes. They'll talk about submissive women. They'll talk about, conservative women,
Right. Right.
and
Right. Right. Right.
the guys talking about this, these are not macho men who are chopping wood in the forest often.
Right.
These
Yes.
are often very, they're quite jaded. They can be a bit
Okay.
angry that they sort of haven't had romantic success. So they sort of look somewhere else, or they look to a
E-
different time and they yearn
mm,
for something different because they
mm.
don't think that they think they're missing out on what's happening today.
Yeah, I feel like honestly for me, I feel sorry for them because they're suffering, right? Like it's like it's a human need to get affection and love, and they just simply can't get it, no matter how hard they try. They just simply can't get it. But in your opinion, you said you're a coach, right? You're a life coach or something. I think I heard you
Yeah,
say
I do a bit
something.
of life coaching.
All
I do
right, so
presentations as well.
all right, so based on your experience, what's the biggest thing that annoys you or the biggest problem that you've noticed from men?
Uh, Often it's looking to women for their happiness.
Ah, I see. I see. I'm not looking like for
So
for
they
for
they will they
happiness
will
at
look
all.
externally for their happiness, often
Right.
in women. So
I
they'll look
see.
for they'll find their happiness in maybe having sex with multiple women, having sex with a lot of women, or they'll look for that in a partner, in a wife. They'll look for that
Okay.
happiness coming from that area.
Right. Right. Right.
Um, and in some ways, it's okay because everyone wants to be loved, everyone wants affection, everyone there's that need for sex. We all have it, men, women. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the issue is when they have that as their only source of happiness. So they're
Right.
deriving so much happiness from this life area. And where that life area should, give them this much happiness, they're giving it, that much. When they really need to be sort of going, okay, so I get some happiness from this and my partner. So
Right.
men will just give that all to the partner, and they'll sort of, and this is kind of where it goes bad, especially, incels and that kind of thing. They will look to a woman to give them all the happiness in their lives,
I
to give
see.
them all that power, and they get so angry and fixated. So it's not helped by society, because society often will subconsciously, or sort of, there's a subtext that tells men that, you're nothing without a partner. You're
Ah,
nothing without romantic success. You're nothing if you
right.
can't get a lot of women. You're nothing.
Right,
Whereas,
right,
so
right.
that plays on a lot of guys' minds. So I try and steer the guys away from that, into like, what is it that you love doing? What is your thing? What is your passion in life? Completely
Mm.
separate to women.
Woman,
We can
yeah,
talk
yeah.
about these two different things. So
Okay.
to me, the biggest
And
frustration, I suppose, is where men get their happiness, and they sort of often looking in the wrong places a lot of the time.
I do agree with you on that, but I also could say something in their defense, right? So when you don't have something, to me, it's only natural to seek out what's the problem in your life, right? If everything is going well, you're not gonna focus on that because it's okay. I think the reason why they focus so much on the woman giving them happiness is because that's the only thing missing from their life. So I think naturally, in any of us, like if you have a problem at home, like the air conditioner is not working, you're gonna focus on the problem. If your TV is working, your refrigerator is working, you're not gonna try to fix it, right? So I think in although I do agree with you, and it will definitely help them out, cut off some steam. I think it's because of that. They need to focus on what's not right in their lives or what's missing. So they're trying to fill that void. In my opinion. So I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, fixation can be a huge problem,
Yeah.
where they see that. The problem is, I do meet a lot of men who they're very fixated on it.
Oh yeah, and they're not
But
like willing to budge or see something
yeah,
else. Oh, I see. And it can be toxic because some men are so obsessed and fixated on it. When they actually do get a girlfriend and they break up, they might like you see it on the news. They might like want to kill them or like beat them up, abuse. So like that obsession could get dark really really quickly if you don't know how to balance it or draw the line.
yeah, and we've had a lot of problems with that here in Australia at the moment. It's getting a lot of publicity,
Oh, I
and
see. Right, right, right.
a lot of and even when guys do have their sort of woman life okay,
Mm-mm.
often they're not sort of getting that good, and sort of getting the rest of their life together as well. It's kind of still a fixation for them, because they try and get control out of it. They try and fixate on, is she doing this the exact way I want her to, and they get really really fixated in trying to control
Okay.
her, and
Right, right.
where that causes issues of, because if you could try and control someone else, they're never going to do it the way you want exactly. It's never going to be quite right. You're never going to be 100% happy no matter what. So that's why it's so important. Even when guys are in a relationship, even when that's going really well, it's important they don't look to that one thing for all their happiness. They've got to have, other things going on in their lives. Otherwise, they just fixate on that one thing. So it's almost like, for example, the air conditioner. The air conditioner was broken. They fixated on that. Then they
Mm-hmm.
fixed the air conditioner, but they
Mm-hmm.
kept looking at the air conditioner and trying to
Oh,
tinker with
like
it.
that. I
And
see.
it's like, come
Right.
on, man, the air conditioner's fine. It's running
Yeah,
fine. Move on with your life.
yeah,
Like,
right.
no, 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 I'm still fixated on this.
You're
And it's like,
right.
well, if that air conditioner breaks again, or that air conditioner leaves because it's sick of you fixating on it,
Right,
you're
right,
going to be
right.
upset. You're going to be even more upset.
I
So it's
see.
kind of like you can't leave the good thing alone. Just let that do its thing and
Right.
have a full life.
Right, right. So I heard you like 5 minutes earlier talking about self-sustainability, that we are not living in the 1950s anymore. So do you believe that we are all equal now, like men and women, the feminism movement, we are both equal? So basically what I'm hearing from you is you don't believe in gender roles. You don't believe the woman should stay home, cook and clean, and the man should work anymore. You're not like
Yeah.
the typical traditional guy, because when I go online and I listen to this, it's split views, right? Some women, they want the traditional man who's gonna pay for them on the first date, who's gonna provide for them, And then I hear you saying in your videos, and well, now, oh, we must cook and clean for ourselves. So I don't know which way you're leaning towards. Like, we should do things ourselves, or we should be with provider. I don't know if you believe in paying on the first date or going Dutch. Yeah. So let's hear your take on those things.
Yeah, so especially in Western countries now, in Western countries, we can't live in the 50s anymore. We can't live in the 60s anymore. The socioeconomic conditions that allowed a man to stay at home the socioeconomic conditions that allowed men to support a wife and 3 children on one salary are long gone. Those are decades past.
Yes.
The vast majority of men in the Western world cannot do that, no matter how badly they want to. Unless they were earning very sort of solid 6-figure incomes in the Western world, that's almost impossible now.
Right.
So the idea that that can happen just is out of reach for the vast majority of men, in the way it was once accessible in generations past. So the realities of that are long gone, and it doesn't really matter how bad you want that to come back. It's not going to really change anything. You know, you can go work for, you know, a modest salary in the Western world, 70,000, 80,000 a year, have a wife and 2 kids. You're going to be in a pretty destitute state if you don't have the wife working. You're not going to be able to provide a very good life and an upbringing and a house for your wife and children with just your salary.
Okay.
It's just impossible to do now. Short of living in a remote rural area where there's no jobs anyway, it's just not really possible. So you can have a very strongly held belief about, you know, gender roles and how it should be, and cooking, cleaning, and all that should be the wife's job. You can sort of think that all day, but the reality of what the world is going to throw at you now just kind of makes that impossible for the vast majority of men. And if you made enough money, you could pay for a maid anyway. But that's not it's not most guys out there, you know? So that's one factor there. And then there's the other factor of, well, you know, you can have in your mind that gender roles are very rigid.
Right.
But we don't often live straight from mum's house to our wife's house as a man anymore. Like, that's not really a thing.
So in a relationship with you treat the woman equally. You don't pay for dates. You don't pay for anything. You and the woman is totally equal.
Oh, I'll pay for dates, that's for sure. So there's not really a situation where you can get, you know, nothing's ever going to be perfect. Nothing's ever going to be perfect. I think the problems arise when men get it in their heads that, you know, I shouldn't be cleaning or I shouldn't be cooking food.
Okay.
Those are basic sort of life skills, you know, like guys just have to be able to do that because it's just not always going to be accessible to them. And you're going to end up in bad situations. Like, for example, I knew a woman who was married for quite a long time to a man who had very strict ideas about gender roles. And eventually she divorced him. She left him. And about 2 weeks later, so after she left, 2 weeks later, he calls her on the phone and says, "Oh, I need your help. Can you come round? Because I don't know how to work the washing machine."
Okay.
So after his wife walked out on him, he's had to call her and beg her to come around and show him how to use a washing machine.
Right.
And the embarrassment that guy felt in that moment, I can only imagine. But see, it's like you've got to have that ability to do it. You've got to sort of know how to do it, because a man shouldn't be helpless. A man should never be helpless. And that helplessness around that kind of frustrates me, sort of. So yeah, I really wish dudes would kind of like let go. Stop fight. There's no need to fight that issue. There's no need to turn everything into a war. But guys want to sort of go to war on, you know, oh, who's paying on the first date, and they want to make a whole thing about that, and you know, they want to go to war on this and argue about that. But it's like, you know, you have to live, you have to be self-sufficient, and you have to be flexible.
Right. But don't you think it's unfair that you have to pay when the girl doesn't have to pay? She's basically using you for a free meal, and she doesn't even have to give you anything. Like, if I was a girl and I was like toxic, I would just like go out with guys and get free food and then just go home, right? So why would you pay a girl for a date when you know like there's no guarantee reward at the end? She could just be like, okay, thanks, and you could never hear from her again. And what kind of precedent is that setting? It's like you are paying her for her time, and like she's working too, and you're working. So like, why do you have to pay?
Yeah, so this is an issue that a lot of guys get tripped up on. So who's paying where, and you know they get into a whole thing about it. So I have heard of girls who will go on dating apps, match with guys, talk to them, and basically ask the guy to take them out to a really nice restaurant. And the guys will pick them up. They will take them to a restaurant. They will pay for all the trimmings.
Right.
They will take them home, and the girl will say, "Thank you, bye."
Yeah, I've heard that. It happened to me already. It happened to my friends already. So yeah.
And it's very easy to look at that and go, how you know, and chastise the girl. And to some extent, it's sort of like, well, okay, you know, but I don't think we get anywhere as men just blaming everyone else. So when I look at that situation, if I'm messaging a girl on a dating app and she says, "Hey, I want you to take me out to the, hey, Max, who I've never met, I want you to take me out to the fanciest restaurant in town."
Yeah.
Now, to me, that's a problem.
It's a red flag.
I've never met this girl.
Yeah.
I don't know her. I don't know if we even get on. Why would I take her out to the most expensive restaurant in town? It makes no sense.
Yeah.
I understand a guy kind of being fooled once by this, but any more than once is sort of like kind of get ahead of the game here.
Do you think like men should demand, say, hey, we are going out. However, I'm not that kind of guy. We are living in 2024. We are equals. So I pay and you pay. Because I'm very sure if she goes out, if a friend, Karen or Emily, ask her out on to go out, I am guaranteeing you she's not going to expect her to pay. So if you wouldn't expect your best friend or your friend to pay, who is a female, why expect your date? What I'm saying is, what kind of precedent is that setting? What kind of relationship are you building from that? Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, so it's very, in my mind, it's very easy to get around this. It's very easy to avoid this.
Right.
At least in the first instance. So if it's someone you've never met, excuse me. Okay, so if you haven't met someone, you shouldn't be investing that much in them. If you don't know if you get along with someone, you shouldn't be taking them out to a 5-star restaurant. The first date should be drinks, coffee, walk, something low cost. You should not be over investing in someone you have never met. And guys get caught up in being traditional and wanting the first date to be dinner. And you know what? That's fine in 1992. But we're not in 1992.
Right.
This is someone on a dating app. We've never met them. The notion of taking them to dinner and paying a lot of money for that is kind of absurd.
Right.
So that first time you meet them should just be just getting to know them, just seeing if you even like them. Do you even want to take this person to dinner in the future at all?
Right.
And you can find that out for the cost of a drink. You can find that out for the cost of a coffee. And when you sort of stick to kind of a date that's simple for the first one, you avoid a lot of these issues. So no men should be really upset that they paid for, 2 drinks and then discovered they didn't really get along with them.
Right.
You won't be as angry if they don't call you back. You won't be as annoyed if they ghost you because your actual outlay was not so much. And if you have that in mind, you're much less likely to sort of fall for that kind of thing of, oh yeah, okay, I'll just go out with this girl who I've never met and pay for a 5-star dinner. If you've got sort of an idea in place of what a good idea for a first meet is, sort of a low investment, a low cost, just to get to know if you like them, then you can filter for that. You can know what kind of person you're dealing with. Then you can decide, maybe I don't want to go on dinners with this person, or maybe you do.
Okay.
But at least then you sort of know what you're getting into. And coming to who pays, I suppose, a bit later on, because that's just a first date.
Okay.
It's often I've been on them, and I'll buy the first 2 drinks, and if we get along really well, she'll buy the next 2. And it's usually quite all right.
Right, right.
And then from there, if you get along, you message. If they don't message you after that, it's like, okay, well, I paid for 2 drinks. I'm not upset. Um, and from there, you can go to dinner after that. You can further dates can be to dinner, but at least it's someone you know you get along with. It's someone you know you want to actually hang out with and invest more time with.
Okay.
And I've found an interesting thing sort of towards the second, third day. So yeah, second, third date kind of thing. If you do have dinner, typically what I've found is if she really likes you, she will want you to pay. So if she really likes the man,
Oh,
she'll want you
really?
to
She would
pay.
want you to. Okay. Never heard about that one.
Whereas if on the second or third date she's not that into you, she'll kind of be like, "Oh yeah, let's go halves. Let's split the bill," because she wants to kind of get a clean split so she can go away and just go, "Okay, well that's sort of what
Yes,
it goes."
yes. And another thing that my mentality, how I go into dates, is you can pretty much tell if the girl is interested within 5 minutes. The way she's talking to you, if she's interested, if she's asking questions about your life, she's being inquisitive. So when I realize I'm doing all the talking and I'm like trying to make the conversation happen, I know, okay, it is like most likely 90% of the time she's not going to be interested. So you know what? I'm just gonna try to like end the date as soon as possible. So I mean, my advice to guys is to just get ready for defeat. In my opinion, just accept how things are. There's nothing you can do about it. If there's something you could do about it, then you would. So for me, how I accept the reality, because I know I'm not like Mr. Brad Pitt or whatever. Like I know there's a high chance of like defeat. I know there's like a high chance of low success rate going to happen. So I just basically accept that fact. I don't get bitter about it. I just accept, okay, this is how life is. What I'm going to do. You know, it's like you need to use the toilet. You need to clean sometimes. It's just a part of life. So basically, for me being an average guy, I just accept reality. I just accept, you know, like no one's gonna want to marry me, no one's gonna want to be with me. That's just how life is. So I have to look at different things in order to enjoy my life. For example, like going to the gym or watching movies or talking to friends and family. So that's how I live my life right now, and that's the advice I would give other guys. So if I'm talking to my friends and they're going through a really hard time, I'm like, instead of going through that hard time, you know, just laugh with me, talk with me, have fun. Let's go and run in the grass or something. Let's look at the sky, you know, because guess what? We both in a very bad position. There's nothing we can do except rely on each other. So I think like other lonely guys should come together and just talk to each other and be friends. You know, just like forget girls, because girls are not giving us happiness. Like we are giving each other happiness. I could make you laugh, I could tickle you, I could lift you up. You know, I care. I want you to be happy. Those girls who you're chasing around, they don't want to make you happy. So, you know, that's gonna be my advice for other guys, and well, that's my approach for dating, if it ever happens. for average guys, dating is very, very, very low.
Yeah, it definitely you're really hitting on something there, I think, about getting your happiness from different places. And
Yeah.
and it's that mistake a lot of guys make of just looking at, oh, girls are going to be all my happiness. And it's like, no, man, you need, you've got your friends, you've got your passions, your goals. And then,
Yes,
okay, you
yes,
can have
yes.
girls as well. But it's sort of like just
Right.
give girls all that much. And
Yes.
um I think the idea of going in thinking you're going to be defeated, I understand why you would sort of have that because, it can be a bit of a grind. Um,
Yeah.
I try and adopt the mindset of, I have to just be at peace with whatever comes from this. It may
Oh,
go really
right.
well, it may not. I just have to adopt a mindset of however this works out, that's the way it's going to be, and I just have to be at peace with it.
Okay. So, you said you coach guys. I'm curious. Do you coach also women?
Um, I get women asking me a lot of questions sometimes, but I
Right.
don't
Okay.
really think I could coach women.
Yeah,
I
because
know
you talk
there's
about like
some
men's
guys who,
issues, but I don't really hear you complaining about women. Like you have all these complaints about men, and men do this and they shouldn't do this, and they should do this. But right in from the moment I spoke to you till now, I've never heard you say, "Oh, women should do this, and this is bad about women." What's up with that? Are you afraid to complain about women, or do you think it's not right, or what's going on with that?
yeah, I don't think we as men get a lot of traction if we complain too much about women.
Uh, there you
And
go.
we don't solve any problems, and I don't think we really move forward as men by complaining
Uh,
about women.
okay,
So,
okay.
I could list a whole lot of things. I could talk about how, women ghost me. I could talk about how women never
Uh,
message me back after a date. I could
right,
talk about how, it wasn't fair that I slept with a woman twice and then she didn't message me again, even though we had a good
right,
time together.
right.
And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
could carry on about how unhappy I am about that. Um, and I could talk about how she should have respected me more. I could talk about how rude she was.
Okay, okay.
But I don't feel I get a lot of traction in that because I can't change it. And what happened happened. And there's circles of influence about what we as men can affect. So
Okay.
we as men can't change women's behavior.
Okay.
We as men
Mm,
can't make women not ghost us. We can't make
true.
women, um, you know, pay for dates. If we
Yeah,
can't, we
that'll
can't
be
make,
great, right?
we can't. Oh, here's another. We can't make women make the first move. And unless you look like, Channing Tatum or
Yeah,
some
true.
Hollywood celebrity,
Yeah,
generally
yeah.
women aren't going to make the first move. And
Okay.
I've been in groups of men who we've discussed at length how much we wish women would make the first move, but the
Yeah,
reality is
yeah,
they're
yeah.
not
That's
going to
not
do that. And
true. True.
no matter how unfair we think that is, us talking about it and complaining about it isn't going to change it.
Mm, mm,
So
mm.
I think in circumstances along that, it's best to sort of accept that and make peace with it. Okay, women aren't going to make the first move. That's probably not fair. But the reality is, as a man, if you want a chance, you've got to put yourself out there, even if that's unfair.
Yeah, I agree. I
So
agree.
I could talk at length. There's a whole lot of things, but
Yeah.
and a lot of it's not fair. And there's the other fallacy of, we have this notion of fairness, and I think it's really great. But that notion of fairness is not going to translate across to dating. It's not going to translate across to relationships because those things are not going to be fair because we're talking about people's feelings, we're talking about emotions, we're talking about hormones, we're talking about a whole lot of things going into play. And if you're trying to find fairness in that sort of messy situation,
Mm-hmm.
you're never going to find it. It's like, and I could complain at length about, you know, these very lovely women dating these horrible men who treat them poorly. Yeah, okay, it's not great. And but
Uh,
I can't get up there and say, oh, you women, you shouldn't be dating these men. They're horrible. They're just going to shrug their shoulders and tell me to go away.
I know one reason why men treat women badly in a relationship, and that reason is I have a friend, and he slept with a girl, and she got attached to him, and they got in a relationship. The problem was he only slept with her because it was a chance to get sex. But after he got it, he was happy, he was content. But he's not really into her. But he said, we can be in a relationship. I love you because it increased his chances of getting sex often, right? Because without that, he just has to stay home and not get sex. So he needed to lie. He needed to say all of the things that she wanted to hear in order to get sex repeatedly, something he never had before. And I think that's a big thing a lot of men do. Like they hook up with all of these girls, making all these promises and lying because they don't have the ability to get sex and they just need to say all these things that they need to say in order to get to the bedroom. And I think that's why a lot of women experience guys who are very mean to them because like, oh, we don't really like you, we just did it because we wanted to do it, but now we have it, we don't really need you anymore. So I think that's one big reason for guys doing
Yeah,
that.
there is that kind of, and I suppose it might go to that desperation issue, how men get all
Yeah.
desperate and they start throwing out things. They'll promise relationships, they'll promise gifts,
Yes, yes,
they'll promise
yes.
all sorts of things. But
Right.
um, it's kind of, and I can say it all day. I can say to men, you don't need to do that. A woman will have sex with you based on how she's attracted to you. That will
Oh,
happen.
I see, I see.
But I can say that all day. But the problem sometimes is men have to live that to experience it. They sort of have to have had sex outside the confines of a relationship to really internalize that as a thing they can do.
Right.
And often less experienced guys, they will get it in their heads that, oh, well, you only have sex within a relationship. Whereas oftentimes that's not the case, or at least not at first.
Right. I see. I saw a video when of you, and it was a girl talking about in a relationship, you must unfollow all of your friends, everybody who is female except your mom and relatives, and you must prove that they're related to you. And I know that video is not like fake. I know in personal experience that has happened, and I know other guys who that has happened before too. So before you answer the question, there's another point I want to make. The question is, can women and men actually be friends? So I think the reason why women demand that is because she doesn't believe women and men could be friends. So if a woman believes that, then she's going to want you to follow all women on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, or whatever. So do you think that's a reasonable thing, knowing that, we are the opposite gender?
So I get that a lot. A woman and a man can definitely be friends,
Okay.
provided there is not strong romantic attraction.
Okay.
The problem here is a lot of men, and I'm going to blame men because they're the ones who complain to me about it.
Yeah.
A lot of men will go into friendships with women who they have strong romantic attraction to.
Right.
And they do that, and they either don't shoot their shot early on, which they should do,
okay.
but they don't,
Yes.
because they're scared or whatever.
Yes.
Or they shoot their shot and they're told, oh no, I like you as a friend. Either way, they hang around being a friend with someone they have strong sexual romantic feelings for.
In hopes of
something more, or because they never actually tried to get more.
Right.
And over time, that sort of thing gets worse. The woman is going to feel probably betrayed. They're going to feel upset and angry. And the guy is just going to be waiting this whole time for something to happen. And it never usually ends well. So yes, men and women can be friends, provided they're not going into it with massive levels of sexual and romantic attraction. If the guy looks at the girl and he's like, oh, she seems nice and fun to hang out with, but I'm not sexually attracted, and he's honest with himself, that's the key, because many men are not honest with themselves or others. They'll go, oh, no, there's nothing there. But deep back in his brain, he's going, oh, yeah, I'd really like to do that. So as long as the man is very honest with himself and he says, no, I have no strong romantic or sexual attraction to this woman, but we have good conversations and she's fun to hang around, they can be friends. But it's all about being honest with especially yourself, because if you're not honest with yourself and you go into being friends with a woman, it's going to cause you a lot of emotional distress. You're going to see her hook up with other guys, and that's going to really piss you off.
Yeah, I think a lot of men, they go like total tunnel vision on this one girl who they have no hopes for. Rather than use that same energy for different girls. Like, I have some friends, they just like message the same girl over and over. I'm like, why don't you take those messages and spread it across the universe and talk to like 100 girls, right? It's a numbers game. It's like playing the lottery. You keep on playing, you can't win without playing, right? So I tell my friends, just message 200 girls in online or outside, and it's a statistics game. It's a probability. Isn't that much healthier than messaging a girl who guaranteed is not giving you attention, rather than take a chance on another girl who might give you attention? So what's smarter? Talk to a girl who is guaranteed not to respond because you saw. I mean, try now. Try messaging now. Look, no attention. Or how about you message the girls outside in the supermarket or library or mall, and you have a chance of getting a response? So which one's smarter, right? So I tell my friends that I have a lot of like sad, stupid friends, and they're so lonely, and I'm like, just try. You're not gonna get anywhere without action. So you could just sit there and feel sorry for yourself, or you could actually go out there and try and fail, because by not trying, you're a guaranteed failure. But at least out there, you may fail, yeah, but you may succeed too. You don't know, right? So it's better to have a maybe you're gonna fail rather than a guaranteed fail. So I try to tell my friends that, like when we're in the mall and see some girls, right? They're like, oh, she's so hot. I'm like, instead of thinking she's hot, go and try, right? And I have to demonstrate. I have to be like, I'm not scared, you know. I did rejection therapy. I'm like, I got rejected so many times in my life. I'm a man. I'm immune to it. I don't care. So I'm like, I should have to show them, but I think they're so shy. You know, like a lot of guys are afraid of rejection. They just like don't move. You know, like no action is not good at all.
Yeah, I really had to internalize with myself early on that if I want something to happen with a woman, I'm going to have to put myself out there. I'm going to
Yeah,
have to put myself out there and be
yeah,
vulnerable to that possibility of rejection. And yep, sometimes the rejection happened, but then
yeah,
sometimes it was fine and I surprised myself.
yeah,
And I think back going, wow, I'm glad I actually tried because
yeah,
if I
yeah,
hadn't, I would have got nothing. And sure, I would
yeah,
have been safe from rejection, but I
yeah.
would have not got further and not, got to know someone in that way.
The reason why I've changed is because there has been a time where I thought this girl is going to reject me 100%, right? But I saw a video of this person saying, you know, you should try, you should try. And you know, eventually I did try. I went against my logic and I tried and it worked out, right? And I was telling myself, wow, if I didn't try, this wasn't going to be happening. So let me tell you this story. I went into a club with some friends, right? And I saw this girl there and I danced with her and then she disappeared. But she gave me some good vibes, right? So I was like, okay, I forgot to get her effing number. I don't know if you can say that on YouTube, but and I was like, oh no, I'm looking for her like all over the club, right? I'm just looking for her, and then eventually, I saw one of the girls who was with her friend, and I asked her, who's that girl for her Facebook, right? And then I messaged her on Facebook, and she didn't reply for 3 weeks, and I was like, okay, it's not gonna work out. And then eventually one day she messaged back, and then long story short, we were in a relationship. So I'm like, wow, if I just gave up and think, oh, she's not gonna like me. So the moral of the story is, you know, I did a lot. You know, I asked for her friend for her Facebook, you know, and then did all the connections, and then eventually we made it happen. So I think, you know, like the guys should try more. Even like me and you, I shooted my shot. I like, you could like totally ignore my message and, you know, not respond. And I messaged a lot of other people who said yes, and a lot of people ignored me. Some influencers even blocked me, thinking I was like spam. But that's just the game. It's, you know, I remember I messaged this girl. She's you know, she does like videos in Japan. I messaged her, and like 5 minutes later, blocked. I'm like, does she think I'm like some kind of like, you know, like spam guy? But anyway, so yeah, you I think you must be open to failure, as everything in life. You know, like when we were babies and we fall down. Oh, I fell. Oh, walking is not for me. You know what? I'm just not gonna walk again. No, right? Sometimes you walk and you stub your foot against the edge of the chair. Oh, toes are not for me. No, this is dumb. It's dumb to submit to defeat so easily. You know, your phone have a scratch. Wow, phone is not for me. Throw away your phone. No. So anyway, I think I'm supplementing your point by saying all of these things.
Yeah, there's really that aspect of do you want it? Do you want it or not?
Right.
Do you want it or do you not want it? You
right.
know, and if you want it, you'll go and make some effort.
Yeah.
If you don't want it, you're going to make no effort. And
right.
You can't make no effort and then turn around and go, well, I wanted it. I just didn't want to make any effort. It's like, well, you didn't want it bad enough.
Exactly. Right.
Like, you're going to have to learn from that.
Yeah, if you really,
I've had those situations where, you know, like I've been in, you know, a bar, or I've been out and I sort of see a girl. I'm like, oh, she's kind of cute. Oh, did she look at me? I don't know. And then I'm like second guessing myself, and I'm racking my brain about it. And I've, you know, one example, I was in New York and I was in a bar. I had lunch, and I was like, oh, I swear that girl keeps looking at me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get up and talk to her, and I'm like, the heart's pounding anyway. I get up, and just as I get up, she gets up and walks to the bathroom, and I'm like, oh god, okay. I finally got the courage. Anyway, I went to the bathroom.
Anyway,
I came out and she's sitting back down.
Like, let's there you go. Right.
Let's just go for it. I said hello and I sat down and talked to her. And yeah, the next night we went out on a date. So
there you go. Yeah.
And there's that moment and I just sort of knew, like, if I'd be kicking myself if I didn't try. And if I tried and failed, at least I'd have closure. At least I could be like, yep, good. That was never going to be a thing. I found out. Rather than wondering what could have been.
Exactly. For me, what helped me, because, you know, all guys' experience is fear, right? For me, what helps talking to a girl when you feel scared the most, that's when you need to move.
Right.
That's when you need to move, because it only
Like,
gets
push through it.
you just jump, just go, because the more you pause and hesitate, it's gonna get heavier. It's gonna get heavier and heavier. It's gonna get worse for you. So it's gonna be uncomfortable feeling anyway, right? That doubt is pushing you. It's like the devil. Don't do it. No. So you need to just go. Just stand up.
Yeah.
Anything.
There's a
anything.
huge danger of overthinking, and the overthink, and you think and you think and you don't do it.
But guess what?
It's a weird thing. The less you think and you just go, duh, okay, go talk. It's much better. The more you keep, what if they do this? What am I going to say? Like, no. You gotta stop that. You just got to blank your mind and go say hello.
Yeah. And you know what? A lot of guys don't realize this. When you do it for like only 3 times, you just do it 3 times, you get accustomed. It's not going to bother you at all. The first 2 times is going to be like nerve-wracking. But let me tell you from personal experience, when you start doing it, it feels like nothing. It feels like you're going in a shower, grabbing a cup of water. It feels totally natural. My friends asked me, I was in the mall and I was like, hey, go and talk to that girl. And he said, what am I going to say? I was like, well, when you saw me today, did you say, oh, what am I going to tell Johan? How am I going to talk to him? When you saw me, did you think all of that? You should just say, hey, what are you doing here? Right? And he was like, yeah. I was like, well, just say that. Right? Just say, hey, what are you? Same thing you tell me, just tell her. Right? So, yeah. I do that, like I just, whatever. If you see her eating potato chips, say, hey, oh, you like potato chips? Like, whatever, So, yeah, I think like guys definitely they miss opportunities. They definitely miss a lot of opportunities. So if I told you, right, how many red cars did you see today? Could you tell me how many red cars you see today? No, right? But if I told you I'll give you $10 for every red car that you've seen today, I'm sure you would have a number. So that's the same thing about luck and opportunity. You only get what you're looking out for. So you definitely need to keep your eyes open and look for luck. Is all around you. Opportunity is all around you. It's just we're not looking for it, is my opinion, is what I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, coming to your point about the who you're following on Insta. So whenever
right. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Whenever I talk about guys following thirst trap models on Insta and influencers, it usually gets a lot of guys getting upset. But what I'm really getting at here is a lot of men will use their Instagram as their public sort of image. And they'll also use their Instagram as a means to kind of use it as a dating app. So they'll DM girls, they'll do that sort of stuff. So if they're going to do that, they've got to have their Insta on point. It's got to be looking good. And that's everything from nice photos, a clean bio, nothing crazy, but, a good variety of photos, look like you're having fun. It can't be, photos of you passing out drunk. It can't be blurry photos of a car. It's got to be something that presents yourself well. Now, what's going to happen is if a woman is interested in you and you're trying to meet her on Instagram, she is going to go through who you're following. And she's going to look, if she's interested in you, she's going to start poking around in your bio.
Yeah, it's true.
She's going to look through all your photos.
Happened to me.
and she's going to look through who's following you, who you're following. If you have, let's say you have 110 followers and you're following 2,000 accounts, she's going to start looking through those 2,000 accounts.
That's a lot.
Start seeing, thirst trapping accounts. She starts seeing influencers, and it starts looking like, is this guy completely thirsty? Is this guy on Instagram jerking off every day? Is this guy just DMing all these influencers all day long? And that just gives a bad impression.
True.
So it's basically how the image you're putting out there. Now, if there was if you followed a few women who followed you back, that's not going to really raise a whole lot of eyebrows. But if you follow 500 thirst trap accounts, that's going to raise eyebrows. And if you're always giving out attention to thirst trap Instagram influencers who don't know you exist, what are you doing with your time? What does that say about how you spend your days? What does that say about your ambition as a man? What does that say about where you're going in life when you've got time to leave 5 flame emojis on some account that has 2 million followers and is just like hoovering up attention? It doesn't do anything for you as a man. Like if you want to shoot your shot and send a DM, all right, fine. But if you got no
mm,
response, if you get blocked, you get deleted, unfollow and move on.
mm,
Like there's no point retaining that. It's not moving your life forward. It's not doing anything like that.